Real estate investing. You hear those words, and what comes to mind? For a lot of us, it's financial freedom, right? It's passive income rolling in, building something that lasts. It's always been seen as this solid, tangible way to build wealth. But here's the thing. Is it really that simple? Is it a straight shot to easy street, or is there a much tougher reality hiding behind those perfect-looking spreadsheets? Today, we're going to dig into all of it, the dream, the potential nightmares, and the actual playbook you need to get it right.
Okay, so here's our game plan. First, we're going to talk about the lore of real estate. Why it's so appealing in the first place. Then, we're going to get real with a case study of an investor's nightmare. From there, we'll shift into solutions, exploring the different pathways to profit and the absolute must-know rules of the game. And we'll wrap it all up with what might be the most important piece of the puzzle, the investor's mindset.
And this is really the heart of it, isn't it? For generations, this has been the belief. Owning property, it just feels like stability, like financial security. It's the foundation so many fortunes have been built on. It promises that perfect combo of steady income and watching your investment grow over time. It's a powerful idea, and it's what gets so many of us excited to jump in.
So let's start right there. With that foundation, what does the ideal path even look like? Before we jump into buying properties, we have to get our heads around the basic principles of smart investing. These apply to everything, but they are absolutely crucial in real estate.
This right here is such a critical point. The focus is on the process, not some get-rich-quick fantasy. The real dream of real estate isn't about hitting the jackpot overnight. Experts like investor Clay Schlenko will tell you that true wealth is built on a foundation of discipline. It's about patience, doing the work, and making smart, informed choices, not emotional ones. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
So how do you actually build that discipline? Well, this 5S of investing framework is a fantastic roadmap. First, start early. That lets you tap into the magic of compound interest, where your money starts making money for you. Then, set clear goals. You need a target to shoot for, like that big $1 million retirement number. Save consistently is all about building momentum, just putting money away steadily. Stay diversified. That's the old classic. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. And finally, stay the course. This one's huge. It means having the guts to not panic and sell when the market gets shaky. This is the mindset you need before you even look at a property.
And here it is. This is the payoff for all that discipline. This is the dual engine of real estate wealth. You've got cash flow. That's the rent money you have left over each month after paying all the bills. And then you have appreciation. That's the property itself becoming more valuable over time. In a perfect world, your tenant is basically paying off your loan while the asset you own is growing in value. That's the dream, right? But what happens when that dream slams headfirst into reality? When all those neat spreadsheets and rosy projections meet the messy world of leaky pipes, bad tenants, and invoices you never saw coming? Let's take a look at a real-life story that paints a very different picture. Oof, this quote is just chilling because it's so relatable, isn't it? This comes from an investor who shared their story on Reddit after their little real estate empire just completely fell apart. They did the homework. The math looked amazing on paper. It looked like a slam dunk. It's exactly where so many of us start, full of optimism. But it's also the perfect setup for a brutal lesson.
And boy, did it hit. All those careful calculations, all the planning, it all started to unravel when it met the messy, unpredictable truth of managing buildings and people, especially from far away.
This just lays it all out, the dream versus the reality. On one side, the spreadsheet promised consistent monthly rent. The reality, entire months with zero income because units were empty. That neat little budget for maintenance costs, blown to pieces by surprise AC breakdowns. The dream of happy, long-term tenants, replaced by the nightmare of 2 evictions across 4 units. And maybe the worst part, the professional property manager who was supposed to make it all easy, turns out they were a huge part of the problem, padding invoices and looking out for themselves, not the owner.
And this is where the financial pain becomes very, very real. $10,000. That's how much it cost this investor every single time a tenant left. Think about that. That's not just lost rent, that's repairs, cleaning, marketing, fees. And the investor was pretty sure a lot of those costs were being inflated. A number like that can vaporize years of profit in the blink of an eye.
So what can we take away from this train wreck? Well, first, investing out of state is a minefield if you don't have boots on the ground that you trust completely. You're just at the mercy of your manager.
Second, you have to have checks and balances. Here, the realtor and the property manager were partners, a massive conflict of interest. Third, this idea of passive income, it's mostly a myth when you own property directly. It can feel like a very demanding part-time job. And finally, and this might be the most important lesson of all, you have to know yourself. If you're someone who hates risk, an investment that keeps you up at night is the wrong investment, period, no matter how good the spreadsheet looks.
Okay, so we've seen the dream and we've stared into the abyss of the nightmare. That brings us to the playbook. How do you actually do this? How can you chase that dream while avoiding all those traps? Well, it all starts with picking the right strategy, one that fits your goals, your bank account, and your stomach for risk. Let's look at a few common ways in. A super popular place to start is with small, multifamily properties, like a duplex or a fourplex. The beauty here is that you get several income streams from a single purchase. So if one unit is empty, you've still got rent coming in from the others. It lowers your risk. And this is where you hear about house hacking. It's a genius move where you live in one of the units and the rent from your neighbors pays for most or maybe even all of your mortgage. It's a powerful way to slash your own living costs while you build equity.
But maybe you're thinking, I have zero interest in being a landlord and fixing toilets. Fair enough. That's where something called syndication comes in. The easiest way to think about it is like this. You're crowdfunding a huge apartment building. A professional operator, they call them the sponsor, finds the deal, runs the numbers, and manages the whole thing. You and a bunch of other investors pool your money to buy a piece of a much bigger, more professional asset than you could ever buy on your own. It's a way to get into big-time real estate without being hands-on.
And if we take that idea even one step further, we get to crowdfunding. This is the totally modern 21st century approach. You go on these online platforms and you can invest much smaller amounts of money, we're talking maybe just a few $100, into a whole bunch of different real estate deals. It's an incredible way to get diversified with a super low barrier to entry, but you have basically zero control. So let's lay these out side by side. Buying a duplex, you need a good chunk of capital, and the management effort is really high, but you have total control. Syndication? Still need a decent amount of cash, but your effort is low because you're a passive partner, and you give up most of the control. And crowdfunding? Super low capital to get started and zero management effort, but you have absolutely no say in how things are run. See? There's no one right answer. It's all about matching the strategy to your money, your time, and how much control you want. Now, choosing your strategy is just step one. To actually win, you have to play by a set of non-negotiable rules. This is the hard work, the due diligence, that separates the successful investors from the people who end up with nightmare stories to tell. Okay, this checklist is pure gold. This is basically your guide to avoiding the disaster we talked about earlier. 1. Research the market. Are jobs and people moving to this area or away from it? 2. Screen tenants thoroughly. This is your #1 defense against evictions. 3. Never skip inspection. Seriously, never. This is how you find those hidden, expensive problems before you buy. 4. Understand the legal and tax side. Setting up an LLC can protect your personal stuff if things go wrong. And 5. Build your network. This is the cure for that out-of-state peril. You need a trusted team on the ground. And that brings us to this huge fork in the road. And it's where our Reddit investor went so wrong. Management. You can do it yourself, or you can hire a pro. If you self-manage, you have total control, and you keep more of the profit. The downside? It's a ton of work. You're the one getting that 2 a.m. call about a clogged toilet. Hiring a pro makes it way more passive, but it'll cost you, usually 8 to 10% of the rent. And as we saw, you have to vet them like your life depends on it. You need someone who's on your team. The right choice really comes down to how close you are to the property and how much time you actually want to spend on it. So we've covered strategies, we've covered rules, but honestly, none of it matters if you don't have the right mindset. This isn't about spreadsheets anymore. This is about psychology. It's about how you think about risk, about success, and about failure. It's the operating system for the whole venture. You know, this might sound a little strange. We always hear about the power of positive thinking. But in investing, a healthy dose of what you might call negative thinking can be your absolute best friend. This quote nails it. It's not about being a pessimist. It's about being prepared. It's about stress testing your deal. What's the worst that can happen? The unit is empty for 6 months? The roof needs to be replaced tomorrow? If you can handle that worst case scenario financially and emotionally, then anything better than that is a win. And this brings it all home. This is from the same investor from our nightmare case study, and it's the perfect bookend to that idea.
Because it's one thing to plan for the worst on paper, but it's another thing to know deep down if you can actually live with it. This is pure self-awareness. The best deal on the planet is a bad deal for you if it's going to cause you constant stress and anxiety. You have to match the investment to your own personality.
Which leaves us with this one big question, doesn't it? And the answer really is, it depends. It depends on the path you choose and the mindset you bring to the table. It can be a pretty hands-off investment if you go through a syndicate or a crowdfunding platform. Or if you buy and manage property yourself, it can absolutely be a very active, demanding, and sometimes unforgiving business. The key is knowing exactly which game you're signing up to play before you ever put your money down.